Hello. So I just changed the background because I realized yesterday's video is kind of like too dark. 咁我轉咗個方向，因為好似覺得琴日條片好暗咁樣樣啦。咁 I'm still like exploring this sort of like video thing。咁我仲喺度研究緊即係拍嘢嘅嘢啦咁樣樣。So hopefully you would find it good to watch 咁希望你會覺得好睇啦咁樣。So anyway, I've been like really busy this morning。咁我今朝有啲忙嘅 ，cause I got some online meetings and catching up with a long time friend。咁我因為今朝要開一個會啦喺網上面，跟住然後有一個好耐冇見嘅朋友，我同佢傾偈啦咁樣樣。And just realizing how this ridiculous COVID regulations in Hong Kong have like impacted a lot of people's life, especially for people with disabilities。咁即係又再一次咧確定咗，即係香港而家呢一啲咁荒謬、咁荒唐嘅即係防疫嘅政策係幾咁即係影響到即係我哋日常嘅生活，同埋特別就係即係受障朋友嘅生活啦咁。So this friend of mine is a wheelchair user。咁我頭先啱同佢傾偈嗰個朋友係輪椅使用者嚟嘅咁，and she has quite a few kind of like chronic disease as well。咁佢都有一堆嘅即係啲長期病患啊咁樣樣啦咁。She's older，咁佢年紀都有翻咁上下噶啦咁。Now she just told me like recently she's just been staying home the whole time。咁佢最近就話俾我知，即係其實幾乎都冇出街啦咁樣樣。The reason was that because like she did not take any vaccine， 咁因為佢冇打針啦 ，which is very understandable with her health condition right now。咁都係好容易理解點解佢唔想打針嘅，因為佢而家嘅身體狀況都係麻麻地啦咁樣樣。And because of that， 咁但係因為佢選擇唔打針咧。There are like basically she can't go anywhere， 咁就基本上係邊度都唔去得嘅咁樣樣啦。At one point, I thought she couldn't even like go out because she wouldn't be able to come back to her place because they have this access QR code, you know, like for her building as well。咁傾下，我仲以為咧佢係如果出咗街翻唔到屋企，因為佢屋企樓下都有要嘟嗰啲咁嘅乜鬼 QR code 咁樣啦咁。But later on, it was clarified she can actually go home if she chose to go out。咁但係後嚟即係搞清楚咧，係翻到屋企嘅，即係如果佢都出街嘅話。But like there are just not a lot of places that she can go。咁但係其實好多地方佢都去唔到啦咁。I still have like a playback。rehearsal going on every week。咁其實我每個禮拜仲有一人一故事嘅排練啦咁樣。So everybody would be in the studio in Hong Kong。咁即係我哋所有團隊嘅人都會喺香港有一個嘅排練室，咁佢哋會喺嗰度排練啦。咁 and then I would be online， 咁然後我就會係喺網上邊啦。And then anybody like who cannot be there like personally that we can also join online。咁其實如果即係我今日嚟唔到，我可能要翻工或者點樣，咁但係我可以上網 join 都可以上網 join 嘅咁樣啦。So I was just talking to her, why don't you come back to the playback rehearsals？ 咁我就同佢講，不如你嚟排戲啦咁樣。But then she told me because where we are rehearsing right now， 咁但係佢就話俾我知，因為我哋而家排戲嘅地方咧 is sort of like in this commercial building come shopping mall complex。咁但係因為咧，佢就同我講，我哋而家排戲嘅地方其實佢係商業大廈加商場咁樣樣嘅。Now because if you have to gain access to a shopping mall right now in Hong Kong, you would need a code from the tracking app。咁但係而家就係如果你要入商場嘅話，喺香港你係要即係有嗰個係啦。安心出行要嘟啦咁樣樣咁，and because she is not vaccinated， 咁就由於佢係冇打針啦咁 ，so she doesn't have that code， 咁佢就冇嗰個 QR code 啦咁樣樣。So that's like so she said that she wouldn't be able to come to the studio because of that。咁所以佢而家就變咗佢唔可以嚟排戲，就係因為咁啦咁。Now I've just talked to my curator in Hong Kong，咁我啱啱就同咗我香港嘅監製傾啦咁。 He told me it shouldn't be the case。咁佢話應該唔係嘅咁，but we're going to find out。咁我哋嚟緊呢個禮拜會，我就叫佢去即係啦查探下啦，探子去回報下啦。Because I think from where we access, like because we are not wheelchair users，咁因為我知道咧，我哋係非輪椅使用者嘅話咧，我哋個入口咧shouldn't need the code， 咁應該係唔使嘟嘅。But I'm not quite sure about the entrance for wheelchair users。咁但係我就唔肯定，即係輪椅使用者嗰個入口係即係咪真係要經商場，所以要嘟啦咁樣。So yeah, so we'll have to investigate it. But then there is like one more thing to learn about accessibility for people with disabilities as well。咁但係即係無端端咁，我哋又即係啦，發現咗其實講通達、講無障礙，其實喺而家呢一個後疫情嘅年代，其實係有一個全新嘅玩法，有一個全新嘅即係觀點與角度啦，咁樣樣。So I will let you know like once I know。咁當然都會繼續同大家講啦，即係當我知道之後咁。But I think it is a good reminder for us all as advocates for human rights and disability rights to actually like be aware of this kind of thing as well。咁我覺得即係都係我哋做人權嘅朋友，即係需要去特別係障別嘅朋友，即係去即係研究啦，同埋即係去 keep 住知道，其實而家我哋去講通達嘅時候，其實已經又多咗一個考慮啦，咁樣樣咯。Okay, so here we go, and we'll start the reading today。咁我哋今日就正式開始啦。Read to resist, day 172。當閱讀也是抗爭，第172日。A Concise History of Hong Kong by John Mark Carroll。香港簡史，從殖民地至特別行政區。著者高馬可，譯者林立偉。Foreign Mud, Opium and War. Britain acquired Hong Kong during the First Opium War, 1839 to 1842. Ostensibly, a conflict over the contraband trade in opium, the war was as much about trading rights and diplomatic representation. By the late 1700s, the volume of trade between China and Britain was tilted in China's favor. The British had little more than silver to offer the Chinese for their silk and tea. The British responded by importing opium, grown and prepared in British India. Although opium had been introduced to China by Arab traders almost 1,000 years earlier and was also cultivated in southern China, it was used primarily for medicinal purposes. By the 1700s, however, it was being smoked mainly as a narcotic. When the Qing reaffirmed its ban on importing opium in 1796, the EIC responded by selling its opium to country traders, British, Indian, Parsi, and Armenian traders, who then imported the drug to China in small, private country ships. Although importing opium was prohibited again by Qing Imperial Edict in 1800, the trade thrived. In small, fast launches known to foreigners as smug boats and to Chinese as scrambling dragons or fast crabs, the drug could be transported quickly beyond the Chinese coast. William Hunter, an American trader, recalled that the opium trade was an easy and agreeable business for the foreign exile who shared it at Canton. His sales were pleasantness, and his remittances were peace. Transactions seemed to partake of the nature of the drug. They imparted a soothing frame of mind with 3%, commission 1%, on returns and no bad debts. 洋煙土，鴉片與戰爭。英國在第一次鴉片戰爭1839至1842期間取得香港。這場戰爭表面上是為鴉片這種違禁品的貿易而打，但除此以外，也關乎通商權利和外交代表權。到了18世紀末，中英之間的貿易量是向有利於中國的方向傾斜。英國除了白銀外，沒有其他東西可以用來換中國的茶和絲。英國人的對策 是把在英屬印度種植和製煉的鴉片進口中國。鴉片早在1000年前已由阿拉伯商人帶到中國，中國南方也有種植，但一直以來主要是用於醫療。到逾18世紀，它卻主要被用作毒品吸食。清廷在1796年再次明令禁止輸入鴉片。東印度公司的對策是把他的鴉片賣給港腳商人、英國人、印度人、柏西人和亞美尼亞商人。他們再以私人擁有的小型港腳船把毒品運到中國。雖然清廷在1800年再次下令禁止進口鴉片，但這種毒品的買賣仍然十分猖獗。鴉片由外國人稱為接貨船，中國人稱為扒龍或快蟹的高速走私小船運載，很快運到中國沿岸。美國商人威廉亨特 （William Hunter） 憶述這種生意說，這種買賣確是在廣州的外國人最易做，也最合意做的。他賣出是愉快的，收款是平和的。這項交易似乎也具有了這種麻醉品的特性，一切都是愉快舒適的。賣出的手續費是3%，盈利的手續費是1%，沒有壞賬。As the demand for opium increased, British merchants became frustrated with both the constraints of the Canton system and the Qing ban on opium. When the EIC's monopoly over British trade with China ended in 1834, the British government dispatched Lord Napier to supervise British trade with China. Whereas the EIC traders had dealt with the superintendent of the Guangdong Maritime Customs, Napier was determined to deal directly with Qing officials as diplomatic equals. Instead, Napier was held hostage in the Canton factories until he agreed to leave China, an incident that might have led to confrontation between Britain and China had Napier not died shortly after from malaria. 隨着鴉片需求日增，英國商人越來越不滿廣州貿易制度的種種規限和清廷的鴉片禁令。1834年，東印度公司壟斷英國在華貿易的權利遭撤銷。英國政府派律盧卑監督英國對華貿易。律盧卑跟東印度公司的商人不同，他不願意與粵海關監督打交道，而堅決以其外交身份平起平坐跟清廷官吏直接交往。結果，他被圍困在廣州商館內，直至他同意離開中國為止。要不是他不久就患上瘧疾病死，這件事很可能引發中英兩國戰爭。This is the reading of today. 咁今日就係讀咗咁多先啦，咁樣。Now we are getting into the first Opium War. 咁我哋開始進入第一次嘅鴉片戰爭。And knowing, like how Hong Kong was actually being seized. 咁就會知道即係到底即係香港到底係幾時同埋點樣係被割讓嘅咧，咁樣樣。I remember when I was studying the history in school. 咁我記得即係我細個讀書嘅時候喺學校讀嘅呢一個歷史嘅時候咧。There is a very strong feeling of the uselessness and also like the authoritarian kind of quality of the Qing dynasty. 咁我即係喺印象裏面就係講到即係清廷嘅嗰個時候嘅清朝咧，係即係首先都係威權政府都係衰噶啦，咁樣係賤人嚟嘅，同埋佢哋係即係好無能嘅咁樣樣啦咁。So like in retrospect, 即係而家諗翻轉頭啦嚇，而家識多啲嘢啦。So I would think like maybe, like the colonial government sort of like write it that way, so we feel that they are not being the bad guys to colonize us. 咁我而家諗可能係以前殖民地政府佢哋即係做教育寫課程嘅時候，特登寫成咁樣，即係等佢哋冇咁罪孽深重啦，即係要霸咗我哋香港咁樣樣。So I'm very interested to see what happened next. 咁所以我係好有興趣知道咧，即係跟住講落去到底會發生咩事咧咁樣樣。呢一度即係根據高馬可佢會點寫咧，即係 particularly like how John Mark Carroll would depict the situation or how he would describe what happened next. Which is like the fun of reading history as well. 咁我覺得都係即係讀歷史或者即係學歷史其中一個最有趣嘅部分咯。 So let's look forward to tomorrow then。咁我哋聽日就再見啦，拜。